Morrowind is an awesome game, but a lot of the things that made this game so awesome aren't really present in its predecessors, namely Skyrim, but Oblivion is guilty of this stuff too. And while both of these games have their merits, it is disappointing that they didn't take advantage of what made Morrowind so great to begin with. So here are the 5 things Morrowind did better than Skyrim. If there is one thing Morrowind does really well, better than any game I've played, it's making you feel like you've earned your title. When you start the game, you start as nobody. The only thing you really know about yourself is what that weird voice told you in the beginning.
Fear not, for I am watchful. You have been chosen.
It isn't until later in the game that you discover that you are someone important. And do you know what happens when you start to tell people you're important? They tell you that you're crazy.
No, I don't think so.
And even when they do believe you, they don't really like it. And why is that a good thing, you may be wondering? Well, for one, it makes the world feel more realistic. Sure, some people would be in awe of your amazingness, but a lot of people would just think it's a load of nonsense. And the other reason why that is good is because when you do finally earn your title, you really earned it. You worked hard to get to this point, and you now deserve to be called a hero. But in Skyrim, they start dishing out entitlements like they were peanuts.
I name you Thane of Whiterun. It's the greatest honor that's within my power to grant.
People label you the Dragonborn within the first 15 minutes of the game, and you didn't even have to kill a dragon. It would have been much more rewarding had you killed the dragon and then one guy says, "Hey, what if you are Dragonborn?" And everybody else is like, "Yeah, right, whatever." And then you return to Whiterun and mention it to the Jarl and he thinks you're crazy too. But that one Nord says if you think you are, then go to the Greybeards. They will know what to do. And so you go to the Greybeards on your own without being summoned. And they don't believe you, but you prove it to them through rigorous tests, and finally, you can start to earn your place as the true Dragonborn. That would have been way better. If you think that you have freedom in Skyrim, well, let me tell you this. You haven't got nothing, bucko. Or is it you haven't got anything? It doesn't matter. The point is, you're not as free in Skyrim as you think you are. Because you can't kill everybody at any moment. Ulfric, essential. Maven Blackbriar, essential. Rolf, essential. Why? I don't know, but it's ridiculous. But in Morrowind, you can kill anybody you want. Sure, it might prevent you from doing entire quest lines, but hey, that's life. And that's totally okay, because there is never a moment where you feel pressured into doing anything. There isn't anyone out there saying that if you don't do the main quest, then all of Tamriel will be destroyed. If you don't want to do that quest, that's totally fine. Go ahead and kill Caius Casades, no big deal. And then, of course, there's the whole problem with the cities. They're closed off. In Morrowind, the cities were right out in the open. You could go from being in the wilderness to hanging out with the townsfolk with no loading screens. And the great thing about that is, it meant the cities weren't this bastion of safety a player could return to. Because at any moment, a cliff racer could swoop in and start tearing your head off. And as annoying as that was, it certainly felt more believable. But in Skyrim, you don't get that sense of realism. But most important of all, you have the freedom to pick up pillows. Now that is realism. If there is one thing Skyrim is good at, it's feeling very historical. Now, if you're into that kind of thing, then great. But as for me, I prefer a little fantasy in my fantasy. And Morrowind provides exactly that. And not just a little fantasy either, but a whole lot of it. From every single mushroom to every single house, this world feels unique. Skyrim just looks like it's copied the Lord of the Rings. But Morrowind? Now that's alien. And it isn't just Morrowind's architecture either, but also the creatures. Sure, you have the regular old skeletons, but you also have skeletons with 4 arms, and alligators on 2 legs, and weird guys with snouts for eyes. I mean, they probably just stole that from Star Wars, but at least it's different. And that's the kind of thing that really drew me to the game in the first place. It was a promise of escaping to something new, something we haven't seen before, and that's what we got. But both Skyrim and Oblivion didn't deliver on that. The most those games had to offer was the generic fantasy creatures, the goblins and the dragons and the reskinned goblins with a different name. None of it felt special. The only thing after Morrowind that recaptured that magic was the Shivering Isles. Traveling to Sheogorath's realm felt like stepping into Morrowind again. Not because they both have big mushrooms, but because I felt like I was taken somewhere different. And that's what I want from these games.
Wanna buy a stick? I got a fresh one right here.
I often hear people talk about all the exciting lore in Skyrim, but I'll be honest with you, that game actually gutted a lot of that lore. And most of what is there is just brought over from previous games. You guessed it, Morrowind. So if you're a fan of war, then close out of Skyrim and throw it in the bin, because Morrowind is the game for you. From the nonsensical scrawlings of Vivek to ABCs for barbarians, which ironically only goes to C, there are books full of interesting things to read and tons of characters with interesting things to say. Enough of the same dialogue over and over again. That's boring. It's time to read something exciting. I mean, if you don't like reading, then that's a bit of a problem, but if you're up for that, then you're gonna have a good time. If there is one thing I like in a game, it's customizing my character. Sure, I am playing in first person, but I do know what I look like, and I don't want to look dumb. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, Skyrim is a bit of a letdown on that front. Sure, there is a lot of stuff, but most of it's trash, and even when you find something unique, usually looks the same as a regular item, which is probably why I find myself downloading so many mods. Morrowind, on the other hand, has tons of options, and they all look pretty sweet. But you don't just have more options when it comes to armor sets, you also have options when it comes to armor slots. For one, in Skyrim your torso and legs are one slot, whereas in Morrowind, they are 2 different slots, but it goes way beyond that. Do you not like these pauldrons? Replace them with something else. Or maybe you only want 1 pauldron. Or maybe you hate those greaves, switch those out. Don't like seeing your armor at all? Throw in a robe and cover it up. Now your foes will underestimate how prepared you are for combat, because you're actually really prepared. Well, you could always be more prepared, I suppose. And then, of course, there's the weapon options. In Skyrim, it's pretty basic. You have swords and bigger swords and axes and smaller axes and bows and smaller bows. But in Morrowind, you have all of those things and more. You can use spears or throwing stars or throwing knives or tantos or halberds. The options are amazing. And all of these options mean that you can be the character that you want to be. And that's awesome, because that's what made these games what they are, the player identity. Skyrim seems to have forgotten that. And it makes me worry that when Elder Scrolls 6 comes out, that player identity won't even be an option anymore. Alright, enough of the depressing talk. Let's talk about something exciting, which is what I'm going to Let's Play next. If you would like to vote on what that is going to be, there is a poll in this video for you to vote on, so go do that right now. Also, if you enjoyed this video and want more, I have another one about 5 things Oblivion did better than Skyrim, and I also did one on 5 things Skyrim did better than Oblivion. So make sure to check those out. And I will see you guys on Tuesday. Goodbye.
Why are you shaking? Are you okay? Wake up.